Hey everyone. Today we step into a war that didn't just kill with bullets, but with rot, filth, and chemicals sprayed straight onto human skin. Imagine soldiers lined up naked in fumigation chambers, coughing as white clouds of DDT swallowed them whole. Feet dissolved into pulp inside boots that promised protection. Gums bled from trench mouth. Entire units collapsed from poisoned army rations. This isn't the clean, triumphant vision of the American soldier you might imagine. This is men paying to wash their own uniforms, watching explicit films about venereal disease, and learning that a dip in a river could let parasites crawl inside their bodies. If you want unflinching stories of the hidden wars fought inside the body, the infections, humiliations, and survival tricks history often forgets, then hit like and subscribe. And in the comments, tell me, could you endure the stink of war now? Steady yourself and follow me into WWII's dirtiest secret, hygiene. You find yourself in a landscape far removed from pristine postcards and heroic narratives. Here, the air itself feels heavy, a thick, persistent blanket woven from damp earth, the metallic tang of sweat, and something deeper, more unsettling, the slow, inevitable progress of decay. This isn't just the odor of exhaustion. It's the profound, inescapable reek of a world unraveling. The ground beneath your boots is a shifting tapestry of mud and the unseen, where every breath carries the subtle, sour note of things rotting. You are a soldier, but your uniform, once a symbol of duty, now feels like a second skin of grime, clinging to you with stubborn intimacy. The battlefield isn't merely defined by enemy fire. It extends into every pore of your skin, every crevice of your being. You share your existence not just with comrades, but with an army of uninvited, persistent companions. Tiny, persistent creatures, the size of a pinhead, begin to crawl. They nestle into the seams of your clothes, burrow into your hair, their relentless itching a low-grade torture, a constant, maddening hum beneath your skin. You feel their delicate, almost imperceptible movements, 1,000 tiny intrusions that steal your focus, fray your nerves. And then there are the flies, a buzzing, swirling cloud, drawn by the same scents that envelop you. They land on your skin, your food, your lips, each brief touch a reminder of the pervasive filth, of the unsanitary embrace of your surroundings. Their incessant drone is the soundtrack to your days and nights, a lullaby of the unclean. The promises of the army, whispered from recruitment posters that spoke of clean-cut heroes, seem like a cruel, distant dream. The reality you inhabit is a grimy, tangible counterpoint to those ideals. You were told of clean soldiers, but here, you are simply a body in a uniform, struggling against an environment determined to reclaim you, piece by slow, uncomfortable piece. Your hands, once perhaps accustomed to the softness of a clean towel, are now perpetually stained, nails rimmed with the indelible black of the soil. The texture of your uniform, meant to protect, feels abrasive, stiff with dried mud and sweat, chafing against your skin with every movement. Hygiene, once a simple, unconscious routine, transforms into a desperate, unending campaign. It is a quiet war waged with scarce scraps of soap, with cold, gritty water, with the futile hope of scrubbing away layers of discomfort. You find yourself meticulously searching for lice, crushing them between your fingernails with a practiced, almost ritualistic fervor. A small, grim victory in a larger, losing battle. The struggle for cleanliness isn't just about comfort. It's about preserving a fragile sense of self, a sliver of dignity in a world stripped bare. It's a fight against the rot that whispers at the edges of your perception, a silent enemy that threatens to consume you from the inside out. This profound, pervasive dirt becomes a constant companion, an adversary as formidable as any enemy soldier, threatening not with bullets, but with the insidious crawl of disease, the slow, soul-wearying grind of decay. One morning, the hum of distant engines grows into a roaring crescendo, a sound that promises a new kind of intervention, or perhaps a different sort of invasion. You look up, and there they are, planes silhouetted against the sky, not dropping bombs, but releasing something far more ethereal, yet no less impactful. A shimmering, white cloud begins to descend, unfurling like a ghostly blanket over the landscape. This is DDT, heralded as a marvel, a triumph of science, a chemical solution to the crawling, buzzing problems that plague your daily existence. You are told it's a Nobel Prize-winning insecticide, a savior. Yet, as the white mist drifts closer, settling on your skin, in your hair, and a fine, almost imperceptible dust on your lips, you can't help but feel a strange unease. You stand there, along with countless others, face turned upward, mouths perhaps slightly agape in a mixture of awe and apprehension. As the clouds of chemicals rain down, it coats everything the ground, the tents, your equipment, and most intimately, your very body. You feel the fine particles settling, a delicate, almost silky layer, but one that carries the faint, acrid scent of something manufactured, something alien. A dryness soon follows, a subtle tightening on your skin, a faint tickle in your throat as you involuntarily breathe in the microscopic dust. It is efficient, you must admit. Within hours, the relentless itching from lice seems to subside. The buzzing chorus of mosquitoes grows quieter. A fragile peace descends, bought with a chemical price. The experience is profoundly unsettling, a visceral memory that lingers long after the white mist dissipates. You witness entire villages, not just military encampments, treated in this fashion. Men, women, and children stand in the open, bathed in the same chemical rain, their homes and fields coated. It's a sight that strips away any illusion of individual care, reducing everyone to a collective problem, a population to be disinfected. You are part of a vast biological experiment, treated not as a person with needs and vulnerabilities, but as an infestation. The feeling of being treated like bugs is not merely a metaphor. It is a lived, physical reality. You are sprayed, not for comfort, but for control. A living organism within a larger system. In the immediate aftermath, there is relief. The scourge of lice, the constant threat of malaria, these immediate, tangible enemies recede. Lives are undeniably saved. The rampant spread of disease temporarily halted. But as you breathe in the faint, lingering scent of the chemical, a quiet question forms in the back of your mind. A subtle whisper of doubt. What are the unknown horrors, the long-term consequences of this intimate, chemical embrace? You chew your rations, now dusted with the fine powder, and the grim joke circulates among your comrades. You are the first generation of men to eat DDT, not just live among its residue. This scientific miracle, in its quiet efficacy, transforms the very nature of your existence, making you an unknowing participant in a vast, unprecedented experiment, the full implications of which remain shrouded in the uncertain future. Imagine, if you will, the profound craving for simple cleanliness. Days, perhaps weeks, have passed since your uniform, your socks, your very undergarments felt anything but stiff with sweat, caked with mud, and permeated with the inescapable odors of camp life. You can feel the rough fabric against your skin, chafing with every movement, a constant, irritating presence. The smell, a concoction of stale body odor and damp earth, has become so familiar it's almost a part of you. Yet, the longing for that crisp, fresh scent of newly washed cloth is a deep, persistent ache. A small comfort, a basic dignity, becomes a luxury you dream of. Then, you learn of the mobile laundry trucks, lumbering mechanical beasts that promise a fleeting return to freshness. Their engines rumble, their industrial washers churn, a sound of hope cutting through the monotonous camp noise. You visualize your grimy uniform, transformed, emerging warm and soft. But there is a catch, a quiet, almost insulting detail that grates against your sense of justice. You, who put your life on the line, who stands ready to make the ultimate sacrifice for your country, must pay a cost of 50 cents per laundry bundle, a seemingly small sum that, in the context of your meager pay and endless waiting, feels like a deliberate slight. You pull out the coins, feeling their cool weight in your palm, a transaction that feels fundamentally wrong. The system itself highlights a silent, yet stark, hierarchy. Officers, with their higher pay and privileged status, often get priority. You watch, perhaps with a flicker of resentment, as their bundles are processed quickly, their uniforms returned crisp and ready. For you, the enlisted man, it means waiting. Long, drawn-out hours, sometimes days, enduring the pervasive stink of your own unwashed clothing, the persistent discomfort, all while the machines churn tantalizingly close, just out of reach until your turn, or your coins, are ready. The very act of waiting, feeling the grime settle deeper into your skin, underscores the bitter irony risking everything, yet still needing to pay for the most basic human comfort. The promise of the land of the free seems to shrink here, within the confines of military life, where even hygiene transforms into a transactional business. The Army, your protector, also becomes a subtle kind of merchant, selling back to you the very necessities that should, by all rights, be provided. You hand over your coins, feeling the smooth, worn metal against your fingertips, and the small transaction becomes heavy with unspoken meaning. It's not just about the money. It's about the principle, the quiet erosion of morale that comes from such a simple, yet profound, indignity. You walk away, clutching your laundry ticket, the memory of the coins clinking in the collection box, a small, persistent echo. This, you realize, is another kind of war. A quiet battle fought over convenience, dignity, and the unexpected price of a clean shirt. The word shower itself carries a particular weight, a luxurious promise in a world defined by dirt and deprivation. You hear whispers of these facilities, public showers that can accommodate dozens of men at once, boasting 8, even 24 shower heads. Imagine, for a moment, the anticipation building within you, the sheer, unadulterated longing for hot water, for the invigorating rush of it against your skin, washing away layers of mud, sweat, and grime that have become your constant companions. You picture the steam, the softening of stiff muscles, the momentary escape from the raw realities of your existence. It feels like a dream, a sliver of civilian comfort in the harshness of military life. You finally reach the facility, joining the line of men, each one mirroring your quiet anticipation. The air inside is thick with humidity, carrying a faint, industrial scent. You strip off your uniform, its stiff, coarse fabric falling away to reveal skin that yearns for cleansing. The steam rises, warming your face, and for a brief moment, the illusion holds. You step under the spray, the water blessedly warm, washing over your body, carrying away the surface layers of dirt. A sigh of relief escapes you, a deep, resonant sound shared by the men around you. This is it, you think. The simple pleasure, the restoration. But then, the experience shifts. Suddenly, the water changes, or perhaps another spray begins. A new sensation prickles your skin, a fine mist that isn't just water. It's a disinfectant, a chemical cocktail designed not just to cleanse, but to fumigate. You feel it on your naked body, a cool, almost clinical coating. The scent is stronger now, sharper, an acrid, medicinal smell that catches in your throat, making you cough. You stand there, bewildered, drenched not only in water, but also in this pervasive chemical, feeling like livestock being deloused. The image is stark rows of naked soldiers, stripped of identity, being treated like an infestation. The very act of cleanliness transforming into an impersonal, almost dehumanizing process. The initial rush of comfort gives way to a strange, almost unsettling feeling. Your skin, though clean of dirt, feels vaguely coated, a persistent chemical residue clinging to you. You emerge from the shower, not just refreshed, but infused with the sharp, clean smell of antiseptic. A scent that now accompanies your own, lingering body odor. Morale, undeniably, receives a boost. The brief reprieve from grime is a welcome relief, a psychological uplift. Yet, in the quiet corners of your mind, a new concern begins to form. You've just inhaled a significant amount of chemicals, feeling the burn in your nostrils, the dryness in your throat. The price of this cleanliness, you realize, might be paid by your lungs, a silent, unseen cost. What began as a longed-for bath, a moment of spa-like indulgence, has subtly transformed into something else entirely half purification, half scientific experiment. A stark reminder of the lengths to which the Army would go to maintain a semblance of control over disease, even at the expense of your immediate comfort and long-term well-being. In the shadowed corners of camp life, a different kind of war rages, one fought not with bullets, but with unseen contagions. You hear the hushed whispers, the grim statistics, the stark realities of diseases like syphilis and gonorrhea, which stalk every base like an invisible predator. These aren't abstract threats. They are personal, deeply unsettling realities that intertwine with the profound loneliness and desires that bloom in the harsh environment of war. For many, far from home, isolated, and living under immense pressure, the yearning for connection, for intimacy, can be overwhelming, leading to choices fraught with unforeseen dangers. The Army, in its pragmatic efficiency, acknowledges this silent battle. Rapid treatment centers spring up, their doors always open, a constant reminder of the pervasive issue. You might see a comrade quietly slip away, returning a day or two later, perhaps a little paler, a little more subdued. Penicillin, the wonder drug, is dispensed by the vial, a potent weapon against these silent invaders. But beyond the medical response, there's an educational campaign, blunt and unyielding, designed to shock and deter. You are ushered into makeshift theaters, the air thick with anticipation and nervous murmurs, to witness adults-only films. These are not for entertainment. They are explicit, graphic portrayals of disease, raw and uncomfortable in their detail. The flickering images on the screen are deliberately unsettling, leaving little to the imagination. You watch, perhaps shifting uncomfortably in your seat, as the stark realities of venereal disease unfold before your eyes. The lesions, the pain, the slow, insidious progression of infection. It's a form of shock therapy, a visual assault meant to burn the consequences into your memory. The language of the accompanying pamphlets is equally direct, almost clinically cold in its advice. The best prevention is simply stay away from women. A simple, yet profoundly difficult command in a world where human connection is so deeply craved, so often absent. For many young men, fresh from homes where such topics were taboo, these films and pamphlets become their first true lessons in sex education. It's a harsh, unforgiving curriculum, taught not in the quiet comfort of a classroom, but in the sterile, often embarrassing public forum of a military base. The experience is a strange concoction of education, shame, and an almost absurd comedy, as soldiers awkwardly joke or silently recoil. War, you realize, does not just transform battlefields. It reshapes the most intimate aspects of human experience, turning desire into a dangerous gamble, and even sex into another front in the endless war against the body's vulnerabilities. A relentless campaign where medicine, morality, and the quiet weight of human longing collide in unsettling ways. Beneath the heavy, canvas-like fabric of your uniform, deep within the sturdy, seemingly protective confines of your boots, a silent, insidious horror often takes root. You stand, you march, you wait, and all the while, your feet, the very foundation of your movement, begin a slow, agonizing process of deterioration. You wear your shoe packs, special waterproof boots lined with felt, designed, you are told, to keep you dry, to offer protection against the pervasive dampness of the European or Pacific terrain. They promise security, but often deliver a different, more chilling reality. The problem, you soon discover, isn't just the water itself, but the relentless, inescapable presence of it. You might wade through flooded trenches, cross rain-soaked fields, or stand for hours in the persistent dampness of a foxhole. The waterproof boots, while preventing water from entering, also effectively trap perspiration, creating a microclimate of dampness around your feet, without the opportunity to change your socks frequently, to air out your feet. The moisture begins its work. At first, it's just a constant coldness, a chill that seeps into your bones. Then, a subtle tingling, a loss of sensation, as if your feet are no longer entirely your own. As the days turn into weeks, and the precious moments to truly dry your feet remain elusive, the horror deepens. Your skin, constantly wet, softens beyond recognition. It begins to peel, first in small, almost imperceptible flakes, then in larger, more alarming strips, like soggy paper tearing apart. The flesh beneath turns a grotesque white, then a purplish blue, mottled and tender. Each step becomes an agony, a fresh torment as the softened, damaged tissue chafes against the boot, against the ground. The feeling is one of profound vulnerability, as if the very structure of your body is unraveling, dissolving from the inside out. The smell is unforgettable, a putrid, sickening odor that emanates from your boots, clinging to you, to your tent, to your comrades. It is the scent of decay, of flesh breaking down, a constant, sickening reminder of the unseen damage. You try to hide it, to suppress it, but it permeates everything, a foul cloud that follows you, announcing the invisible suffering. Your feet, once capable of carrying you miles, now feel like alien appendages, swollen and exquisitely painful, their nerves screaming with every movement. Repair teams can patch up a damaged boot, mend a tear in the leather, but they cannot restore the raw, exposed flesh, the nerves screaming with every touch. For some, the war begins not with the sound of distant artillery, but with the insidious, relentless rot of their own feet. A quiet agony that slowly steals their ability to stand, to walk, to fight. A constant, agonizing reminder that the battle for survival is waged in the most unexpected and intimate corners of the body. Beyond the visible wounds and the pervasive grime, another silent affliction often crept in, a slow, insidious erosion of the very mouth you used to speak, to eat, to laugh. You might begin to notice a strange, metallic taste, a persistent soreness, a tenderness in your gums that worsened with every bite of hard ration biscuit. This was trench mouth, a chilling echo of the previous Great War, brought on by the potent cocktail of relentless stress, inadequate nutrition, and the omnipresent lack of proper hygiene. Your gums would swell, turning an angry red, sometimes bleeding at the slightest touch, or even spontaneously. The pain was dull, constant, a throbbing reminder of the internal battle your body was fighting. And then, the smell, a foul, almost putrid odor that seemed to emanate from your very breath, a clear sign of the bacterial overgrowth taking hold. The army, ever vigilant against anything that could diminish fighting capacity, recognized this threat. A new order descended daily toothbrushing for many, particularly those from working-class backgrounds where dental care was a luxury. This was an entirely new routine, a foreign ritual of oral maintenance. You might find yourself awkwardly holding the small, stiff-bristled brush, unsure of the proper technique, scraping at your sore gums, a new, unfamiliar sensation. The feel of the bristles against your tender flesh, the taste of the gritty tooth powder, became a daily, necessary penance. It was a small, personal battle, fought twice a day, against the encroaching decay, a quiet effort to reclaim a piece of personal health in a chaotic world. Your hygiene kit, a small canvas bag, became a peculiar collection of contradictory items, tucked alongside the toothbrush, the razor, and the small, utilitarian bar of soap. You would often find a pack of cigarettes, a strange juxtaposition. Indeed, on one hand, the tools for meticulous cleanliness, for fighting the visible and invisible scourges of the body. On the other, the small, white sticks promising a moment of calm, a shared ritual, a brief escape from the grinding reality. You might finish brushing your teeth, the minty taste momentarily freshening your mouth, only to then light up a cigarette, inhaling the acrid smoke, feeling its familiar burn in your throat. The contradiction was stark, yet widely accepted. You were encouraged to keep your mouth clean, to fight trench mouth, even as millions of cigarettes were distributed, becoming an almost integral part of Army life, a currency of camaraderie and solace. The long-term health consequences, of course, were not yet fully understood or prioritized. In a strange, unintended twist of fate, the very campaign designed to improve hygiene, to promote daily oral care, inadvertently turned countless soldiers into lifelong smokers. The act of lighting up became a habit, a reflex, a small rebellion or a simple comfort in a world of discomfort. The efforts to maintain one aspect of health subtly undermined another, a quiet, almost poetic irony where a health campaign subtly, almost imperceptibly, twisted into a pervasive, generations-long tobacco campaign, its consequences far outliving the war itself. In the flickering shadows of a makeshift projector screen, a new kind of education began, one that blended the lightheartedness of a cartoon with the chilling gravitas of a medical warning. Hollywood, in an unexpected alliance with the Army, stepped into the breach, creating animated films designed to impart crucial hygiene lessons. These weren't just dry lectures. They were lively, engaging, and often darkly humorous. You'd gather with your comrades, the air thick with the smell of stale popcorn or damp canvas, and watch as characters like Private Snafu stumbled through comical misadventures, each blunder leading to a gruesome, yet cartoonishly exaggerated, consequence related to poor hygiene. Private Snafu, a hapless, often lazy soldier, became a familiar, almost beloved figure. His animated antics provided a much-needed break from the relentless tension of Army life. You'd see him neglecting to wash his hands, forgetting to shave, or making foolish choices, always with a comedic flourish. The audience would erupt in laughter, a collective release of stress and recognition. But beneath the slapstick, a serious message always lurked. Snafu's mistakes were meticulously designed to show you, with vivid, sometimes grotesque animated detail, the dire repercussions of neglecting personal cleanliness. The films presented a stark, unforgettable equation: stay clean, follow the rules, or face a grim fate. The educational method was ingenious in its simplicity and effectiveness. You watched, you laughed, and then a shiver would trace down your spine as the humor gave way to a chilling depiction of disease. A simple unwashed hand might lead to animated germs swarming, transforming into menacing, cartoonish monsters. The progression of an infection, normally an invisible horror, was brought to life on the screen, exaggerated for impact, but undeniably effective in implanting the lesson. Even something as taboo as gonorrhea was given its own cinematic treatment. A film graphic enough to genuinely shock, causing a ripple of uncomfortable murmurs and stifled gasps through the viewing audience. This blend of education and entertainment proved remarkably potent. Hygiene, often a tedious, unglamorous topic, became the punchline, but a punchline with teeth. You learned, not through rote memorization, but through visual storytelling, through shared laughter and collective cringing. The imagery, once seen, was difficult to forget. The lessons about washing, shaving, and avoiding disease were subtly embedded in your memory, often more effectively than any dry manual or stern lecture. You walked out of those screenings with the images of Private Snafu's cartoon misfortunes and the vivid, slightly disturbing depictions of disease etched into your mind. You laughed, you flinched, and most importantly, you learned all within the space of a single, unforgettable reel, where the comedy of carelessness met the stark, unyielding truth of its consequences. As the war carried you to the sun-drenched, often humid landscapes of the Pacific Islands or the arid stretches of North Africa, a new and insidious threat emerged, one that shimmered deceptively in the very water that promised relief. The heat could be stifling, the dust pervasive, and the sight of a cool, sparkling river or a tranquil pool would stir a primal longing for refreshment, for the simple pleasure of a cooling dip. But strict, almost desperate warnings quickly replaced that longing with a profound sense of dread. Do not swim, do not wash, do not wade. The reason was invisible, yet terrifyingly real. In these exotic, beautiful waters lurked microscopic parasites, creatures like schistosomiasis, often called snail fever. They were silent, unseen invaders, capable of burrowing straight through your skin, entering your bloodstream, and setting up a protracted, agonizing siege within your body. A single, seemingly innocent dip in a river, a moment of weakness or desperate thirst, could condemn you to months, even years, of debilitating illness, fever, fatigue, internal pain, and a slow wasting away. The very water that promised solace became a source of profound fear, transforming a basic human need into a perilous gamble. Only approved water points were deemed safe. Designated sources meticulously checked and treated, clearly marked with official signs. Every other body of water, the inviting streams, the tranquil ponds, the tempting rivers, was forbidden, a no-go zone of potential disease. You learned to view these natural water sources with a new kind of suspicion, a quiet dread that replaced any sense of beauty or serenity. The shimmering surface, once alluring, now seemed to conceal a hidden menace, a biological trap waiting for the unwary. To navigate this treacherous landscape, you might find yourself marching in heavy rubber boots, even in sweltering heat. The sensation was peculiar, almost surreal, like a bizarre shopper in a flooded market, unable to touch the merchandise, unable to truly feel the ground beneath your feet. The boots felt cumbersome, hot, making your feet sweat. Yet they offered a thin, crucial barrier against the invisible enemy lurking in the earth, in the puddles, in the enticing rivulets of water. Hygiene, in this context, was not about cleanliness in the traditional sense, but about avoidance, about fearing the very element that sustained life. It was a constant, almost maddening vigilance against an unseen foe. A battle waged not with overt combat, but with the quiet discipline of self-denial, forever longing for the cool, forbidden embrace of the water that promised both relief and potential death. Even as you navigated battlefields fraught with enemy fire and invisible parasites, another, more insidious threat often lay in wait, closer than you could imagine in the very food meant to sustain you. The monotony of army rations, the repetitive, often bland flavors, could wear down even the most resilient spirit. You would dream of fresh produce, of home-cooked meals, of anything beyond the predictable texture of canned meat and hardtack. The temptation to seek out civilian food, a local delicacy, a taste of something different, was powerful, and many soldiers, despite strict prohibitions, risked it, hoping for a brief escape from the culinary tedium. But the real danger, surprisingly often, lay within the Army's own mess halls. These were the places where thousands gathered daily, their lives dependent on the meals served. Though inspections were routine, and cooks underwent training in sanitation schools, the reality could be far more treacherous. Statistics whispered of over 190 documented mass food poisonings throughout the war, sickening more than 22,000 soldiers. Imagine the scene along chow line, the clatter of mess kits, the steam rising from large vats of stew or a casserole, seemingly innocuous. Yet, for many, that meal was a quiet game of Russian roulette, a gamble with their own well-being. You might wake in the dead of night, not to the sound of artillery, but to the sudden, wrenching grip of stomach cramps. A cold sweat would break out, followed by a wave of nausea, a dizzying weakness. The familiar barracks, a place of rest, would transform into a hellish landscape of discomfort and desperate dashes to the latrines. You would lie there, shivering, feeling your strength drain away, understanding that the enemy was not a distant German machine gun or a Japanese sniper, but something far more intimate, far more insidious, a spoiled ingredient. A moment of carelessness in the kitchen, a bacteria that had silently taken hold. For some, this was the deadliest enemy they faced. Not the roar of tanks or the whistle of incoming shells, but the quiet, internal rebellion of a poisoned gut. The irony was profound. You fought against external foes by day, with courage and determination, only to battle your own stomach by night. A silent, humiliating struggle against the very sustenance provided by your own side. Hygiene in the kitchen, intended to safeguard health, could tragically turn into a silent killer, a betrayal from within the ranks, reminding you that in war, the threats to life came from every conceivable direction, even from the seemingly safe haven of a hot meal. A constant, unsettling reminder of the pervasive vulnerability that shadowed every moment of a soldier's existence. Imagine for a moment the vast, shimmering expanse of the Pacific Ocean. It's June 20th, 1944. The air is thick with the scent of salt water and the distant hum of powerful engines. You are Lieutenant Saburo Kitamura, and the world as you know it has just been irrevocably altered. A moment ago, you were fighting, enduring, clinging to life amidst the chaos of battle. Now, you find yourself on the deck of a massive American aircraft carrier, the USS Enterprise, a steel behemoth cutting through the waves. The chilling propaganda, whispered in hushed tones back home, painted a vivid picture of your inevitable fate. Capture by Americans meant swift torture, humiliation, a brutal end. Every fiber of your being is braced for this horrific expectation. But as you are guided, gently, surprisingly gently, to a mess hall, a different reality begins to unfold. The fluorescent lights hum with an unfamiliar warmth. The air, instead of the expected metallic tang of a warship, carries an aroma that makes your stomach clench, not with fear, but with a pang of hunger you hadn't realized was so profound. It's the smell of food, rich, savory, something beyond the bland rice and pickled vegetables that have been your sustenance for months, perhaps years. You are motioned to a seat. A plate is placed before you, and what you see makes your mind reel. It's not a meager ration. It's a feast. Golden brown fried chicken, its crispy skin glistening under the lights, piled high. Next to it, a generous scoop of creamy mashed potatoes, impossibly smooth and white. There are bright green beans, a vibrant contrast, looking fresh and tender. A thick slice of golden-crusted bread sits beside them, still warm to the touch. Your eyes widen further as a slice of apple pie, its filling bubbling gently beneath a lattice crust, is added to the plate. And then, a tall glass of cool, fresh milk. This is not the meal of a prisoner awaiting torture. This is the meal of a guest, perhaps, or a valued sailor. The sheer quantity, the variety, the richness of it all is a physical blow, a stunning contradiction to everything you've been taught. You pick up a fork, your hand trembling slightly. The first bite of fried chicken is a revelation. The crunch of the skin, the tender, juicy meat. It's a flavor you haven't experienced in years. Perhaps never with such abundance. The mashed potatoes melt in your mouth, a comforting cloud. The sweetness of the apple pie, the pure, clean taste of the milk. It's overwhelming. Then comes the final, baffling question. As the server approaches with 2 large tubs, you hear a calm, friendly voice ask, "Chocolate or vanilla?" For a moment, you don't understand. What are they referring to? Then you see it ice cream. Not just ice cream, but a choice. 2 distinct flavors offered to you, a prisoner, as if you were merely a sailor making a casual decision about dessert. The very idea is ludicrous, almost comical in its unexpectedness. Ice cream, a luxury beyond imagining, even for the highest-ranking officers back home, is being offered to you after a meal that was already beyond belief. In that single moment, surrounded by the hum of the ship and the gentle clinking of cutlery, the meticulously constructed edifice of propaganda begins to crumble. All the terrifying stories, the warnings of barbaric Americans, of their cruelty and lack of humanity, dissolve into thin air. You are not facing a monster. You are facing a meal. And with each bite, a new, unsettling truth begins to take root in your mind. This is not how the enemy was supposed to behave. This abundance, this simple act of feeding you well, is more disorienting than any interrogation could ever be. It's a silent, yet deafening, challenge to your entire worldview. As the days turn into weeks aboard the American vessel, the initial shock of that first meal slowly gives way to a deeper, more profound realization. Your comrades, those few who have also been captured, share similar tales of bewilderment. Back home, you were all indoctrinated with a singular, chilling narrative if captured by the Americans. You faced an absolute certainty of starvation, brutal torture, and a swift, ignominious execution. The stories were vivid, designed to instill fear so deep that surrender was unthinkable. Death in battle preferable to the barbarian's mercy. This was the unwavering belief, ingrained from childhood, reinforced through every facet of military life. Yet, here you are. You are not starving. Instead, you are offered regular, nutritious meals. Not just any meals, but substantial portions of meat, fresh vegetables, bread, the kind of food that fills your stomach and provides a sustained energy you haven't felt in years. You watch as your American captors, with an almost casual efficiency, provide comprehensive medical care to your wounded comrades. Doctors, not guards, attend to injuries. You see them administer morphine for pain, a drug considered a rare and precious commodity back in your own ranks, reserved for the most critical cases, if available at all. Wounds are cleaned, dressed, and meticulously tended to. There are clean bandages, powerful antibiotics, and a level of sanitation that is utterly foreign to your experience of military medicine. The contrast is stark, almost unbearable. On one hand, the deeply ingrained belief, the propaganda that painted the Americans as inhuman monsters, devoid of compassion. On the other, the undeniable reality unfolding before your very eyes. Medical personnel treating your wounds with genuine care. The consistent provision of proper, nourishing meals. The simple acts of human decency. It's as if a fundamental pillar of your world has been gently, yet firmly, dislodged. This profound difference in treatment doesn't just challenge your understanding of the enemy. It fundamentally shakes your worldview. Your entire understanding of honor, of sacrifice, of the nature of the enemy, is being rewritten, not through force, but through kindness and material provision. The American soldiers, depicted as bloodthirsty devils, are instead offering a surprising, bewildering form of hospitality. It becomes clear, with each passing day, that this abundance is not merely a side effect of their wealth. It is, in a profound and unsettling way, a weapon. A weapon more powerful than any fear-mongering, any bullet, any bomb. Fear. You understand. Starvation. You comprehend. But this sheer, overwhelming abundance, this demonstration of an almost limitless supply, this consistent display of well-being, even amidst the chaos of war, is an enigma. It undermines the very foundations of your warrior spirit, which teaches that spiritual strength triumphs over material weakness. Here, the material is so abundant, so casually offered, that it makes the spiritual sacrifices you've made seem almost unnecessary. This profound, unsettling generosity begins to dismantle not just your prejudice, but the very rationale of your fight. As you continue to observe the daily operations of the American forces, the sheer scale of their material superiority becomes a silent, yet deafening, roar. You begin to understand, on a visceral level, the chasm that exists between your world and theirs. A gap measured not just in ships and planes, but in something as fundamental as sustenance. The numbers, when you eventually come to grasp them, are staggering, almost mythological in their implication. Consider the daily rations. You recall the rigid discipline, the constant gnawing hunger that was a familiar companion on your own naval vessels. A typical day on a Japanese Navy ship might have afforded you around 400 calories. Your diet consisted primarily of rice, often in small, carefully measured portions, supplemented by a few pickled vegetables. Meat was a rare luxury, fresh fruit an almost forgotten dream. The result was widespread vitamin deficiency, a constant feeling of depletion, a body perpetually running on the bare minimum. You recall the weariness, the difficulty concentrating, the slow erosion of strength that became a normal part of existence. Now, you witness the American reality. Their Navy rations are a stark, almost unbelievable contrast. You see the sailors consuming roughly 100 calories daily. Not only is the quantity immense, but the quality is astounding. Abundant meat, a variety of dairy products, fresh vegetables, loaves of bread, a diet so rich and varied it seems designed for building strength, not merely surviving. You watch as sailors eat heartily, often leaving portions untouched, a sight that still sends a shiver of disbelief down your spine. Then there is the water, the lifeblood of any vessel, especially in the vast, unforgiving ocean. On your own ships, water was a precious commodity, conserved with extreme measures. Showers were non-existent, drinking water rationed, and the constant fear of drought, of running out of this most vital resource, was a constant, underlying tension. You remember the parched throats, the sticky salt on your skin, the desperate longing for a clean, freshwater rinse. On the American carriers, however, it's a different story. You learn that these colossal ships are capable of producing an astonishing 140,000 gallons of fresh water every single day. 140,000 gallons. It's a number so large it's difficult to conceptualize. It means not just drinking water, but water for washing, for cooking, for cleaning. You see sailors taking long, leisurely showers, a simple act that feels like an unimaginable indulgence. This seemingly endless supply of fresh water transforms daily life, easing a fundamental burden you've always carried. This isn't just a nutritional gap, it's a psychological one. The constant struggle for basic sustenance on your ships created a mindset of scarcity, of relentless conservation, of an awareness that every resource was finite and hard-won. The American abundance, on the other hand, suggests a world without such limitations. It implies a capability, a logistical prowess, that is simply beyond your previous understanding. It affects morale, energy, and even the very capacity to fight. How can one maintain the same fierce, desperate spirit when your opponent operates with such casual, overwhelming ease in the face of what you perceive as existential scarcity? This gap, measured in calories and gallons, begins to illustrate a profound difference in the very nature of their power. As you begin to settle into your unexpected captivity, the marvels of American military life continue to unfold, revealing a level of comfort that borders on the fantastical, utterly detached from anything you have ever known, even in your civilian life back home, on your own ships. A bunk was a hard, utilitarian slab, often shared, always cramped, offering little more than a space to rest an exhausted body. The concept of comfort, of personal amenities, was a foreign luxury, dismissed as softening the warrior's spirit. Now, you are shown to a bunk, and your eyes widen in disbelief. It's not just a bunk, it's a proper bed. Beneath you, instead of a thin mat or bare metal, there is a mattress, a soft, yielding mattress that cradles your body, offering a gentle support you haven't experienced in years. You lie down, tentatively at first, and then sink into its unexpected embrace. The relief is profound, a simple comfort that speaks volumes. Then come the showers. The idea of hot, running water, freely available, still feels like a dream. On the submarines, you observe the crew taking their turns under a spray of warm water, emerging refreshed and clean. The very act of washing away the grime and salt of the ocean, without the constant worry of water rationing, is a powerful symbol of their material wealth. But the sheer scale of these comforts expands far beyond basic hygiene. On the larger American aircraft carriers, you discover entire worlds within these floating fortresses. You are stunned to learn they possess movie theaters, complete with projection screens and rows of seats, where sailors can watch films. In the middle of the ocean, amidst a war, they are entertained as if they were back in a bustling city. You see libraries, shelves filled with books, providing an intellectual escape that was simply unheard of in your experience. And then, the ultimate indulgence, soda fountains. Imagine a place where cold, Sugary drinks are dispensed on demand. It seems like something out of a child's wildest fantasy. And gyms, filled with equipment for physical training and recreation, allowing the sailors to maintain their physical conditioning and blow off steam. The USS Enterprise, the ship you are on, even prints its own daily newspaper, a newspaper, with comics to bring levity and sports scores to connect them to the world they left behind. You flip through its pages, the crisp paper, the familiar format, and the sheer normalcy of it all is another stark reminder of the depth of their resources. Compare this to your own life at sea. A small, sparse shrine room, perhaps for moments of quiet reflection, and the ubiquitous rice balls. Sustenance, not pleasure. The contrast is not merely one of material goods, it's a contrast of philosophy. Your world demands austerity, sacrifice, and a focus solely on the mission. Their world, however, seems to weave comfort, entertainment, and mental well-being seamlessly into the fabric of war. It's another world entirely, where the lines between battle and daily life, between necessity and luxury, are blurred in a way you never thought possible. This isn't just about fighting, it's about living, even in the heart of conflict. And it leaves you profoundly, almost uncomfortably, impressed. Among all the astonishing revelations you encounter on the American ships, one particular detail stands out, solidifying the image of their incredible abundance into an almost mythical status: ice cream. It's a simple confection, a sweet, cold treat. Yet its presence and availability on these warships become a symbol, a testament to a level of logistical capability and material excess that defies all logic and expectation. You learn, through hushed conversations and astonished observation, that the USS Navy operates floating ice cream factories. Imagine that. Entire vessels dedicated solely to the production of ice cream, capable of churning out an astounding 5,000 gallons of the frozen delight in a single shift. 5,000 gallons. It's a quantity that boggles the mind, a luxury elevated to an industrial scale, deployed not in bustling cities, but in the unforgiving expanse of the Pacific. You hear stories of individual carriers like the USS Lexington, boasting their own impressive ice cream plants, producing 500 gallons of ice cream every single day. Every day. This isn't an occasional treat. It's a regular part of the sailor's diet, a consistent source of morale and pleasure. The very idea that such resources are dedicated to something so seemingly frivolous during wartime is astounding. There are even tales of sailors facing the desperate situation of abandoning their sinking ship, prioritizing the rescue of their ice cream stock. It sounds like something out of a tall tale, an absurd detail in the grim reality of battle. Yet it speaks volumes about the value placed on this particular comfort and the ease with which it is obtained. The idea of saving ice cream over more essential items illustrates a mindset entirely foreign to your own, where every possession, every resource, is weighed against its absolute necessity for survival or victory. But the most potent, most unforgettable image of this ice cream culture comes during battle itself. You witness, with your own eyes, American sailors, mere moments after an engagement, or perhaps during a lull in the fighting, casually eating sundaes, full sundaes, with scoops of ice cream, toppings, whipped cream. They are calm, composed, indulging in this sweet treat as if they were enjoying a leisurely afternoon at home, not engaged in a brutal struggle for dominance on the high seas. The sight is deeply unsettling. On your ships, battle meant austerity, grim determination, and a focus so singular that all other thoughts were banished. The idea of such an indulgence, such a casual display of comfort, would be unthinkable. A sign of weakness, of a lack of commitment to the emperor and the nation. Yet, here it is, a stark reality. The ice cream, in its cheerful abundance, becomes a stark contrast to the grim reality of your own experiences. It's not just food, it's a symbol. A symbol of a different kind of power, one that sustains its fighters not just with grit, but with comfort, with pleasure, even in the very teeth of war. It's a sweet, cold shock that resonates deeper than any explosion. The continuous display of American plenty begins to shift your perception of their entire war effort. It's not just the presence of luxuries like ice cream. It's the sheer scale of their daily consumption. And what seems to you, at first, to be an almost incomprehensible level of waste. You, like your fellow prisoners, are acutely aware of the preciousness of every morsel, every drop. Scarcity has been your constant companion, shaping your habits, your values, your very understanding of existence. One particular observation strikes you with profound impact. Your fellow POW, Yoshio Yamada, a man whose observations you trust, confides in you. His voice filled with a mixture of disbelief and awe, that he witnessed the Americans throwing away more food in a single meal than his entire ship had been provisioned with for an entire week. An entire week's rations for his ship, discarded after just one American meal. The thought is almost sacrilegious, a violation of every principle of conservation and necessity you hold dear. How could such a thing be? You start to notice the mechanisms behind this apparent excess. You see specialized machines at work in their industrial-sized galleys potato peelers that remove skins with astonishing speed. Bread slicers that churn out uniform slices of fresh bread. Hour after hour. These are not small, cramped kitchens, but vast, efficient operations, working tirelessly, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a continuous, churning engine of food preparation, producing quantities that seem to defy the logic of wartime scarcity. The question of waste gnaws at you and your comrades. It's a concept so foreign to your experience of military life, where every crumb is accounted for, every resource stretched to its absolute limit. You gather the courage, perhaps through a translator, to pose this burning question to one of your guards. You ask, with genuine bewilderment, why so much food is discarded, why they permit such seemingly profligate behavior. The guard, a young man with a friendly, almost disarming demeanor, simply laughs. Not a mocking laugh, but a good-natured chuckle, as if the answer is so obvious it's amusing. He replies, "It's not waste if you have unlimited supplies." Those words hang in the air, a simple sentence that shatters another layer of your preconceptions. Unlimited supplies. The phrase itself is revolutionary. It implies a logistical network, an industrial capacity, and a national wealth that is simply beyond your ability to comprehend. Your nation fights with scarcity, with the fierce determination born of having little, of making every sacrifice count. You understand the desperate calculus of making do with less, of triumphing over material disadvantage through spiritual strength and unyielding will. But the Americans, you realize, fight with abundance. They are not merely provisioning their troops, they are drowning them in resources. This isn't a struggle for bare survival. It's a demonstration of overwhelming, inexhaustible power. The concept of unlimited supplies fundamentally redefines the nature of the conflict. It transforms their actions from mere military strategy into an almost effortless display of economic and industrial might. And in that moment, the true, daunting scale of their power begins to sink in, deeper and more unsettling than any battle report. The medical treatment you and your fellow prisoners receive continues to be a source of profound bewilderment, directly challenging the deeply ingrained doctrines of your upbringing. In your experience, military medicine was utilitarian, focused on getting soldiers back to the front lines as quickly as possible, regardless of their long-term well-being. The severely wounded were often considered a burden, their suffering a grim reality of war, their lives valued only as long as they could contribute to the fight. Compassion, in the face of brutal necessity, was a luxury rarely afforded. Here, on the American ships, the sick bays are not merely aid stations. They are full-fledged hospitals, meticulously equipped and staffed. You see X-ray machines, devices that penetrate the body to reveal hidden injuries, a technology of precision and advanced care that astonishes you. There are blood banks, meticulously organized, holding precious reserves that can literally bring someone back from the brink of death. You observe surgical rooms, clean and sterile, where doctors perform intricate procedures with a calm expertise. The treatments themselves are equally astounding. You and your comrades are given penicillin, a miraculous drug that combats infections with an effectiveness you've never witnessed. Sulfa drugs, potent antibiotics, are administered freely. And for pain, the blessed relief of morphine, a drug that, in your own military, was so rare and rationed that its very existence was almost legendary. These powerful medicines, which could save countless lives, are being wasted, as you initially perceive it, on enemies, on you. This is a stark contrast to your own nation's military medical philosophy, which prioritized the war effort above individual suffering. Soldiers were pushed back to battle, often before fully recovering, their bodies expendable in the larger struggle. The idea of investing such advanced resources, such precious drugs, and such dedicated care into an enemy soldier would have been considered not only foolish, but treasonous. Why would you heal someone who would, if given the chance, return to fight against you? But here, the Americans do it without question. They heal you. They mend your wounds. They alleviate your suffering. This act of healing an enemy, of demonstrating such profound care and access to advanced medical technology, feels more devastating to your Japanese ideology than any physical violence. It undermines the very concept of the enemy as a dehumanized obstacle. It suggests a value for individual life that transcends the battlefield, a universal humanity that you had been taught to suppress. This isn't merely about medical superiority. It's a psychological blow. It chips away at the foundation of your warrior's code, which glorifies sacrifice and views life as secondary to duty. To be treated with such care by the very people you were taught to despise forces a reevaluation of everything. It's a kindness that disarms, a compassion that disorients, and it plants a seed of doubt about the righteousness of your cause, simply by demonstrating a different, more humane way of being. As your time as a prisoner unfolds, you begin to grasp the truly mind-boggling scale of American logistical superiority. On your own ships, resupply was a desperate, precarious affair. Weeks, sometimes months, could pass between opportunities to replenish essential supplies. Food, fuel, ammunition, everything was hoarded, conserved, and stretched to its absolute limit, often leading to critical shortages that hampered operations and severely impacted morale. The open ocean was a vast, isolating expanse, and the waiting for resupply was a constant, anxiety-inducing burden. But on the American vessels, you witness something entirely different. You watch, often from a vantage point on deck, as these massive ships conduct complex replenishment operations at sea, almost effortlessly. It seems to happen weekly, with astonishing regularity. Great tankers pull alongside the carriers and destroyers, transferring hundreds of thousands of gallons of fuel. Ammunition ships carefully pass crates of shells and bombs across the churning waters. And it's not just the necessities of war. You see fresh fruit being transferred, baskets overflowing with oranges, apples, and bananas, items that were legendary luxuries on your own ships. Then, the most astonishing sight of all mail. Sacks and sacks of letters, parcels and packages being moved from ship to ship. The thought that sailors, in the middle of a brutal war, could receive regular communication from home, little tokens of love and connection, is almost unfathomable. The spectacle becomes even more technologically advanced. You observe the arrival of helicopters, strange, whirling machines that hover over the decks, dropping their payloads with precision. These aren't just military supplies. They are letters from home. Cookies baked by mothers and wives, bars of chocolate small, personal comforts that speak volumes about the connection these fighting men maintain with their civilian lives. It becomes clear that the Americans fight with full stomachs, not just in terms of calories, but also in terms of morale. Their connection to home is sustained, their spirits buoyed by these regular infusions of comfort and communication. They are not isolated, not cut off. They are part of a continuous, flowing network that delivers not just the means to fight, but the reasons to fight. This seamless, constant flow of supplies from fuel and ammunition to fresh fruit and heartfelt letters demonstrates a level of organization, industrial capacity, and strategic foresight that utterly dwarfs your own nation's capabilities. It's not just their technology that is superior, it's their entire system of support. While your forces were often forced to gamble on scarce resources, the Americans operate with the certainty of knowing their needs will be met, consistently and abundantly. This logistical prowess paints a picture of an enemy not just powerful, but effortlessly sustained. Fighting a war of endless resources while your own nation struggles with every single shipment. As the year draws to a close, a new and utterly bewildering spectacle unfolds on the USS Enterprise. It's late 1944, and the American sailors begin preparing for a celebration that is entirely foreign to your cultural understanding. Christmas. The ship, usually a functional, utilitarian environment, transforms. Decorations appear, strings of lights, colorful ornaments, banners. The air fills with the sounds of unfamiliar, yet pleasant, songs. It's a festive atmosphere, utterly at odds with the grim realities of war that still rage across the Pacific. On Christmas Day itself, you and your fellow POWs are witnesses to a feast that beggars belief. The mess hall is adorned, and the tables are laden with an astounding array of food. You see enormous roasted turkeys, their skins golden and glistening, radiating a rich, savory aroma. There are large, succulent hams, slices of cranberry sauce, its tart sweetness a new and surprising flavor. And for dessert, not one, not two, but 3 different kinds of pies, each a masterpiece of sweet fillings and flaky crusts. And, of course, the ubiquitous ice cream, served in generous scoops. This is not a meal. It's a lavish banquet. a celebration of abundance that transcends anything you have ever experienced, even in peacetime. But it's more than just the food. You watch as the American sailors exchange presents, small wrapped packages filled with personal gifts. They sing cheerful songs, their faces alight with joy and camaraderie. They receive special letters and packages from home, reaffirming their connections to their families, bringing a tangible piece of their civilian lives into the heart of the war zone. Among your fellow prisoners, the silence is heavy, punctuated by murmurs of disbelief. One of your comrades, Hiroshi Nakamura, a man who has always held a stoic and unwavering belief in the Yamato spirit, turns to you, his eyes wide with a profound, almost heartbreaking realization. "That was when I knew Japan had already lost," he whispers, his voice barely audible above the distant sounds of celebration. His words resonate deeply within you. It's not the sight of their formidable warships or their advanced weaponry, or even their seemingly endless supplies that delivers this crushing blow. It's the celebration itself. It's the casual, confident display of such overwhelming abundance. The ability to find such joy and comfort, to connect so deeply with home, even in the midst of a brutal war. Contrast this with the grim reality of your own nation's war effort. Soldiers, including yourselves, were expected to face starvation, privation, and certain death for the emperor, to endure any hardship with unyielding spiritual strength. The idea of such a lavish celebration, such personal indulgence, would be considered a weakness, a distraction from sacred duty. But here, the enemy celebrates. They feast. They are sustained by comfort and joy. And in that stark comparison, the true depth of the disparity, the seemingly insurmountable gap in resources and morale, becomes devastatingly clear. The festive lights and cheerful songs of Christmas, rather than bombs and bullets, illuminate the path to defeat. As your time in captivity draws to its inevitable conclusion, the cumulative weight of these experiences, the astonishing meals, the casual comforts, the endless supplies, the unexpected kindness, and finally, the bewildering joy of their Christmas celebration begins to fundamentally dismantle the bedrock of your beliefs. Your nation's ideology, the very core of the Yamato spirit, was built upon an unwavering principle, spiritual strength, and an indomitable will could and would overcome any material weakness, sacrifice, austerity, and a fierce, unyielding spirit were the keys to victory, even against a materially superior foe. But what you have witnessed systematically erodes this conviction. You have seen American sailors, after intense combat, repair their damaged ships with an almost casual efficiency, working tirelessly to restore their vessels to fighting condition. And then, moments later, you see them gathered, laughing, eating ice cream sundaes. Ice cream. After battle? Before returning to fight? It's a juxtaposition that defies the logic of your entire military upbringing. According to your indoctrination, such indulgence, such comfort, should make them weak, soft, ill-prepared for the rigors of war. It should erode their fighting spirit. Yet, it does precisely the opposite. This abundance, this capacity for comfort and pleasure, does not weaken them. It sustains them. It fuels their bodies, lifts their morale, and allows them to face the horrors of war not with grim resignation, but with a surprising resilience and even a measure of lightheartedness. It provides a constant, tangible reminder of the world they are fighting for, and the nation that so effortlessly provides for them. The ice cream, once a bizarre anomaly, becomes the ultimate symbol. It's a small, sweet testament to a vast, intricate system of industrial power and logistical genius. It embodies an enemy that is not just powerful in arms, but powerful in its capacity for life, for comfort, for continuous provision. The idea that spiritual strength alone could overcome such an opponent begins to feel like a tragic, beautiful, yet ultimately futile dream. After the war concludes, and you and your fellow prisoners are eventually repatriated, you carry these stories back to a devastated Japan. You speak of the golden fried chicken, the endless gallons of fresh water, the mattresses, the movies, the Christmas feasts, and the ubiquitous ice cream. You share the bewildering phrase, "It's not waste if you have unlimited supplies." These first-hand accounts of American abundance spread like quiet wildfire across the nation. Heard in hushed tones in rebuilt villages and crowded cities. It is these stories, these tangible experiences of an enemy's unexpected generosity and overwhelming material wealth, that, perhaps more effectively than any bomb, begin to dismantle the militarist mythology that had gripped Japan for so long. The ice cream and the kindness, the comforts and the calories, become powerful agents of change, revealing a world where humanity and prosperity could coexist even amidst conflict, challenging the old dogmas of spiritual purity over material reality. And as the sun gently sets on this reflection, you realize that true strength perhaps lies not just in what you can endure, but in what you can provide, and the profound, transformative power of simply being well-fed and treated with unexpected care.